Welcome to Yes Also. I'm Susie Barrett. My guest today is the loveliest of the lovelies, Genetra Tull. Genetra studied at UCB and IO West. She was on teams at IO West and Second City and on 4 Herald teams at UCB, and she's on the UCB house teams JV and Benetton. The wildest thing to me is that I've known Genetra for years, but I've known her through UCB and the indie scene, and I had no idea that she did stuff at IO and Second City until after we recorded this. She sent me her credits for this intro, and I was like, wait, what? So it's pretty wild to me that we can sit down and talk about just improv for over an hour, and it turns out we barely scratched the surface. Genetra has some really beautiful and vulnerable things to say about processing grief through comedy, and it really resonated with me. If you'd like to see some pictures of Genetra from throughout her improv career, head over to our Instagram page at YesAlsoPod. And now, the episode. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very, very excited.
Isn't it exciting to just sit and talk prov?
Yeah, and I find people in my life just don't want to talk improv like I do.
Let's start there. You don't have a lot of improvisers. Do you have sort of like a siloed life with like your improv friends and then other people in your life, or?
Yeah. Most of my friends are improv friends.
Yeah.
But outside of the improv world, they don't want to hear about this.
Right.
It's not on their, it's boring to them.
Do they say that? Are they this is boring?
They're like, I don't want to. You're done talking. Are you done? Okay, because we're done.
You're like, no, but this initiation.
But you don't understand like the dynamics of humanity when it comes down to performance. You've checked out? The glaze over.
Right. They paint pictures of eyes on their eyelids.
Those googly eyes?
Yep. Yeah, they got those at the ready. How did improv enter into your life? And was it love at first sight or was it a slow burn?
It was love at first sight. I had moved out. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just hit the mic. I had moved out to LA to build sets.
Oh, cool.
And when I got into film school and everything, my whole world was like construction, building sets, design, all that kind of stuff. And I double majored in writing, directing, and design. But I came out here to build sets. That was my thing. But
why, just a quick tangent, why building sets? Why did that become your focus?
There's a few reasons why. I was just naturally good at with working with my hands. It's just something that I gravitated to. And I didn't know that this world was a thing I could do. Like, as a kid, you're just walking around being silly. And then I was like, okay, I'm a silly person who understands construction. So I'll do that.
I'll be silly with a hammer in my hand, and you can pay me at the end of the day, and then I'll go home and be silly again.
And I was like, that's going to be my life, and it's going to be a good life. That's what I decided.
Even in film school, where you're like surrounded by other people who are creative and with a mind towards going into film, your angle was not writing or directing as a career. Your angle was set building, or was it that you thought like you could have a cleaner start or a more certain start as a builder?
What happened as far as going into writing and directing is that I had found a group of friends and they were all on the writing directing track. So then we all started taking our classes together. But then I was also doing the design classes.
Gotcha.
And so then my counselor came to me and they were like, okay, so you have taken all these classes and you have now officially double majored as design and writing directing. You can graduate right now if you just mark this as what you've done. Or you can finish the full design track, but you'll be here for another 2 years.
Or you can make friends with some pre-med students and be here for another 7 years. It's up to you.
Exactly. And that was brought up as well. And I was like, blood? No, thank you. And I was like, oh, I'll graduate right now.
Yeah. What school was this?
University of Colorado, Denver.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Is Denver where you grew up?
Mm-hmm. From Colorado.
I think I knew that now that it's somewhere in the recesses of my mind when we were chatting about gardening. I think that came up. Yeah.
Yeah, because my family's still out in Colorado. Yeah.
Yeah. Your dad's a big gardener.
Yes.
Yeah. Not large, but like he's into it.
Both. Big guy, big gardener.
Big gardener, big guy. Okay, so you're moving to LA. You're going to build sets. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I got out here, and I got a job right away at the Colony Theater in Burbank as their spot operator, and then kind of like weaseled my way into working behind the scenes and everything. And then I got a job as in production design for an indie film.
Awesome.
And the men in that group were so mean and so cruel that I was like, I don't want to do this.
All right, I rescind my awesome. I spoke too soon.
Tap me out. Tap me out.
Yeah, God.
And I was like, if we're being fully honest, I was like running away from my previous life. I had grown up in the church, and it was like very voice crushing. And I was like really trying to figure out who I was outside of religion. And my roommate was like, hey, I'm going to my friend's 401 graduation show. You want to go? And I was like, yeah, sure. Nothing else is going on for me out here.
Sounds boring. I'm in.
And then I saw Harold for the first time. And I was like, I want to do that. What is that? I want to do that.
What was it about it that sparked you?
It felt like they were creating a whole story. They were just making up a whole story right in front of my eyes. Like each beat, the continuation of each beat felt like this huge story. And I was so enamored by it that I went home and I called my mom because I was broke. And I was like, I got to try this thing, Mom, please. And she was like, sign up. We'll figure it out.
Oh, I love your mom.
Me
what
too.
A wonderful, yeah, that's awesome.
And I really needed friends. I had my roommate and another friend of mine that had moved out from college. We had all moved out, but we were all on really different paths. And I was like, I'm very lonely out here. And I either figure this out or I go back to Colorado. And I was like, I can't give up yet.
How deep into your LA story were you at this point?
I was like 6 months out here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a long time to feel lonely and displaced and treading water. And a lot of people have that. I feel like that is the most common feeling of people who move out to LA. I feel like those of us who are in the improv community are so lucky to have kind of a built-in, it's like our church, right?
Yeah.
We see everybody, we help each other out. It's social, it's community, it's learning. It's like a college campus in that area of town. And then other people who just move out here to be an actor or to work backstage or to work on set, they're just like, what do? They're just in their apartment and then try to go out to like LA bars and strike up conversations, or like, what do? How do adults make friends if they're not in improv?
And truly, we're still trying to figure this out.
Yeah. The great mystery.
Yeah. And so then we signed up right away. And my first teacher was Joe Hartzler. Mm-hmm. And I had so much fun in that class, but it was clear. I was like, this is to make you fall in love with this. What's the reality of what this is? Because it just felt, I was trying to get to doing that Harold.
Right.
And so I was like, this can't be it. We're just saying yes. And going off of this, that's it.
Right. This is the drug dealer giving me the free sample, hoping that I get hooked so that I come back. Yeah.
And I was. But then I was also like, but how do we get to that?
Right.
And I think something that really helped me was that I had no acting background. I had no acting. And I was kind of like adverse to actors being on the crew side of things. Quick little side story. I had thought about this when I was listening to some of the other episodes. My first day in college, I had gone to the wrong class. I was in the wrong building. It was a whole thing. God. And it was an acting class and it was advanced acting. And the teacher was like, okay.
What class were you supposed to be in?
I was supposed to be in my dramaturgy class.
Okay. So like studying scripts.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Because that's where everyone starts so that you can like understand how to then apply your skill to a script.
Great. Yeah.
And it was supposed to be this huge hall, but I'm in this tiny classroom or whatever, and everyone's sitting on the floor, and I was late. Classic Genetra, I was late. And I walk in, everyone's on the floor, and the teacher's like, tell me your name, tell me your hobby. And immediately I knew I was in the wrong class. But my voice was so tiny at the time or like myself, whatever, I was like, I'll just wait till they get to me. And then I'll be like, hi, I'm Genetra, and I think I'm in the wrong class.
My hobby is getting the hell out of here.
Yeah, you could just point me in the right direction. That could be my hobby. And I remember this woman being like, hobby. If I'm not acting, I'm not breathing. If I'm not acting, I'm not like living. And I was like, I gotta get the frick out of here.
Oh my God.
This is what this is like. We can't have that. You don't have a hobby? Okay, we gotta go. And I was like,
also, you need like medical help.
Yes.
If you're not breathing, you can't be acting 100% of the time. If you are, you're a liar. I'm nervous about your life.
Truly. And I was like, if this is acting, this isn't for me. Clearly, I just need to find where crew people are. You guys, great. But I got to be over there.
You put your jetpack on, you broke through the ceiling.
Yeah. Skyrocketed out and then ended up right. And I was like, this is it. This is where I need to be.
Yeah. Okay. So bad taste in your mouth about actors. And now you find yourself in an improv class surrounded by mostly actors.
And I think it really helped that I didn't have like the vocabulary of actors or, kind of how they process information. And so I didn't have to worry about putting on something, especially at UCB, because UCB is very much like play as yourself, play at the top of your intelligence. And then once you find something, then go into that character. And so I think it made it easier for me to start grasping at least the UCB concepts so much faster.
And you're way ahead of the game in that sense because as a teacher, it's hard to get actory actors to stop acting so hard. So yeah, you were way ahead of the game in that sense. Sorry, continue.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, and I had great fun and I was like starting to meet people, and that was like the whole point of the whole thing. And then I went and saw I can't remember Joe Hartzler's Herald team.
Flap Jackson. Right? No, different one?
I think it was a different one. I can't 100% remember the name of the team.
Oh, the Great War.
The
Yeah.
Great War.
Yep. Thanks, Ryan.
And oh my gosh, I can see her face, and I couldn't tell you her name to save my life. Oh no, tragic.
The Virgin Mary. Did she appear in the? Okay, yeah, you can see her.
Anyway, in the opening, there was something about men falling from the sky. Something casually kind of thrown out, men falling from the sky. And Joe Hartzler went to it was like second group game. And Joe Hartzler went to the back, climbed up on the back of the wall, jumped over the wall, and basically, what is it called? Belly flopped onto the stage.
Oh my God.
And then laid there. And then, gosh, I can't think of it. She ran out and she said, "It's raining men." And then all the guys started jumping off of the walls and landing on the floor, and all the women running around screaming. And I was like, I could do this for the rest of my life. If this is what this is, I can do this for the rest of my life.
Isolate what you were falling in love with about that. Was it the commitment, the silliness? Like, what was it?
It was like the spontaneity of it, and I think the commitment. And then that everybody jumped in hard because it was just chaos on stage. If you had came in the middle of that, you would have been like, what is happening? But because of the, seeing the opening, remembering what that was, and he jumped, he fell, and it was silent for like 2 seconds while we were like, what is happening? And then she ran out and went, "It's raining men." And I was like, that's from the opening. Whoa.
It was a true set spike or like an alley-oop dunk. Like he remembered from the
Marcy
opening.
Giroux.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Marcy.
Marcy's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. He remembered a detail, committed hard, jumped off. I can't believe he did that. And then she also remembered the thing and came in to label it. Yeah. Off to the races. That's great.
I think, that was the moment that like solidified it for me.
Yeah. And then, so you're like, I'm in, I'm going to take all of the classes. I'm going to do this for my life. Mm-hmm. How was your journey through classes? Did you find the curriculum like easy to integrate? Were you having kind of an easy time? Was it hard?
It was easy. It was easy, but I accredit that to my teachers. I somehow landed in the right classes for me. My 201 teacher was Todd Fasten, which I know is a hard teacher for a lot of people. That was the right teacher for me.
What about his style was right for you?
Because in his mind, there's one answer. And I was like, I just have to find the one answer. And if I can find the one answer, I can find the pattern. So, and if you were wrong, he was like, no.
You didn't do that scene right.
Yes.
No.
No. You. And I was like, there's one answer. If I can find this one answer, I can figure this out. And then I did. And he was like, yeah. It was something, I couldn't even remember what it was about, but I had figured it out. And I was like, I understand the line now. And because 201 is the math.
Right.
And I was like, this class is hard. This is what this is. And once I found the line, I was like, oh, I understand ideally. Oh, I keep hitting this mic. Ideally what we're supposed to be. I talk with my hands a lot, everybody. I understand the idea of what this is supposed to be. Now, how do I put this into practice?
Yeah. So now once you know that there, for you, that as your style of improviser, that there's like sort of a, almost like a left brain, right brain mix. Like there's an analytical math to it, and then there's the doing of it. Was the process of integrating that into your play? How long did that take, or how long before you felt like you had your groove in improv?
I feel like it happened twice. I would say when I started getting into advanced study, I was like, I feel my groove as like an indie improviser. And then I would say when I got on Herald Night was when I was like, I think I could actually be really good at this. I think that I could be on a weekend team. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like I can get there. I wasn't ready yet, but I was like, I think I can get there. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember so the Todd moment was something that caused like a light bulb for you. Do you remember other light bulb moments along the path that kind of solidified things for you or gave you a new goal, or was it muddier than that? Am I oversimplifying it?
I think it was a little muddier than that. I do have a couple of light bulb moments, but I don't know if it's necessarily for improv, but more for like, oh, you can do that in the comedy spectrum.
Talk about those.
Drew Tarver in a sketch is like a lounge singer, and he's just singing about he sings about a dirty cup, and it's like, I'm gonna take you on a date and I'm gonna sing to you. And he's singing about a dirty cup. I got an extra cup in my car for McDonald's or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, you can do anything. You can really do anything. And then I was watching Broad City, and Abby, in the episode I was watching, Abby does all this work to get to this goal. And at the end, somebody else makes it fail. And she had bought them a roasted chicken to be like, hey, if you do this and it comes through, I will give you a roasted chicken. And they were like, I'm in. They mess it up, and she drop kicks the roasted chicken. And I was like, oh, you could do anything. And now, those are two huge moments where I'm like, oh man, comedy is just so much bigger than I could ever imagine.
Yeah, that's interesting that those are the two examples, because both of those, it's like they're a little bit messy, or like drop kicking a chicken is messy and kind of outside the lines. It's like, whoa, you would never do that in life, and then like, yeah, singing about a dirty cup is like, oh man, it's taking this normally romantic thing that's like pristine and about love and whatever, the light in your eyes, and it's a dirty McDonald's cup. So it's funny that there's maybe something in your comedic voice that the naughtiness appeals to you, or the like outside the lines.
It's like I play from an emotional space, and I always wish that I was more witty, but I really do play from an emotional space, and it was like taking the emotion to level 1,000. It's like, oh, I'm in love with you so much that I've got this extra dirty cup from McDonald's we could go fill up. Or I'm so mad at you that I'm going to drop kick this roasted chicken.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's the emotion of both of those. Yeah.
You can go so much farther than you think you can. For me, personally, emotionally, you can keep going. You can get angrier in ways that are just more silly.
Right. Yeah. Things that you would never do in real life.
Yeah.
So angry you're going to climb up the wall or whatever.
Yeah. And it puts you in a vulnerable spot, and it can fail so poorly. Could you imagine if I feel like we've talked, or not that we've necessarily talked about this before, but this conversation has happened before. If you drop kick but you miss it,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just
man.
leaves you so vulnerable to what if it doesn't go, then you're...
But also, how funny would that be? I find moments like that so funny, especially when they happen in real life. Ugh. Like someone who's like, oh, my favorite thing is in college, this guy got really mad. We were all hanging out in the lobby, and this guy, man, I can't give too many details because I just like don't want to like tear someone apart. Not that anyone from that is listening
that was
to this.
me.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Why do I care? I'll just say it. This guy who was like much older than the rest of us and taking college classes, but he was like, I've already lived in New York and I've done the thing and I've been a professional and you don't know what you're... So he was already kind of an unlikable character because he was telling us that we're doing acting wrong and he knows the biz and blah, blah, blah. And he was like balding. You know, we're children. We're 18. What are you doing here?
Right.
If you're so much better, then go do it. But he was trying to learn lines or something, and the rest of us were talking, and we were in a lobby where people normally had lunch. We were being normal, and he was the one who decided to study lines in front of us to show us that he like had a part or something. And he's like, yeah, I'm trying to concentrate, and all you can do is chatter, and I'm sick of this. And he like whacks his script against his leg and then huffs out and tries to slam the door behind him, but it was a door on one of those hydraulic, like the air thing. So
yes.
So he like slams the door and it goes psh, and just takes 20 seconds to close and then very silently closes. Pause. We all just fucking lost it. I mean, scream laughing.
So funny.
It's so funny. But that to me is trying to drop kick the chicken and totally missing and then pretending like you didn't miss and huffing off anyway, you know?
Yeah, it takes... all the air out of everything that you is gone.
Yeah.
And you're still trying to hold on to it.
Yeah, you have zero power, zero status, but you're going to hold on to your like invisible scepter. Yeah.
My dignity is not lost.
Right.
It sure is.
It is. Yeah, your dignity took a bus like 10 minutes ago. It's been gone. Yeah.
Sorry. I hate to tell you. Actually, I don't, but I'm telling you.
I actually relish in telling you never had dignity. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. But yeah, I guess that's an interesting thing about comedy too, is like that speaks to the fact that there is no failure. Because if the goal is showing the humor and the follies of life and character dynamics and, you know, the way that characters interact with each other, then it doesn't matter if the chicken gets kicked or not. Either way, the choose your own adventure scene goes to a cool, interesting, funny place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now because it's improv and everybody's going to be game for whatever happens and we're all going to jump on the guy falling from the sky, we are in that scene, whichever, if it goes to the choice A or choice B, we are all in that scene full force.
Full force.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that.
Do you have, so you play with JV, you're on JV.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a dream come true.
Totally. Yeah. Talk to me about that. And your journey is so cool because I feel like I saw you, I think when you were first auditioning.
Yes. You saw my very first Herald audition.
I did.
You saw my very first Herald audition. And then I had gone to, and I got to tell you another story too. But I had gone to a sentimental, because I used to go to Convoy and Sentimental Lady like religiously.
You're a Todd fanatic.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Todd rhymes with God. I see. Okay.
Yeah, I see how I got there, and I needed a replacement. So, we kind of bumped into each other, and you said, "Hey, you had a good audition," and I honestly probably still riding that high.
Oh, you did though. Yeah. Cause in sitting in those rooms, you see so many people. When someone stands out, it really stands out cause there's so many good people that come through auditions. It truly is like, it's what a difficult job the ADs have of like trying to whittle it down because it's like
so many people.
Yeah, out of these 1,000 people, 500 are really good, and we can only pick 16 or whatever. But when someone stands out as really, really good, then it's really a standout. And I had never seen you improvise before, so I was like, "Who is this? She's fucking great."
Are you hearing this?
Yeah. So, great. I'm glad I gave you that compliment. I'm a big believer in giving compliments.
Me too. I mean, why not?
Great. Do you have one for me or like,
Absolutely,
were you going to sit on it?
You're
or?
an amazing improviser. Okay. I am so happy to be in your presence.
Oh my God. Okay.
Anytime I am.
Wow. Do you think I'm Todd or what?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Did you fall from the?
Yeah, I did.
Are you okay? That looked like it hurt.
It hurt.
I believe it.
Cool. So you had a great audition. So what I was going to say is I feel like watching you, seeing you like emerge, in my awareness of you, I was like, whoa, she's great. Where'd she come from? Cause I hadn't had you as a teacher. It's like, so to me, you just popped in, you fell from the sky. And then watching your journey through really great indie teams. Was Mondegreen your first Herald team?
That was my first Herald team, yeah.
Doing great on Mondegreen. And then, but I feel like since then you've just exploded. Your learning curve or your confidence curve has been exponential. Talk to me about getting on JV and what that has been like and how that has changed your improv.
Well, let me start by saying that JV and Bangarang were like my two Herald teams that I would go see very often, because they were so cohesive. Once again, that whole like, whatever is said, that's what's done. Hard. Mm-hmm. They played hard. And I really enjoyed doing that. And I got on Mondegreen. I love Mondegreen, one of my favorite teams of all time. And we were a very physical team, and I'm also a very physical player. And that was very exciting. I think now I'm just talking about my teams. I guess that's the question.
Yeah.
And then I was on Herald Night for 4 years. It's because the pandemic is right in the middle of that. I was on Herald Night and I was on 4 different teams. I kept getting moved. Our teams kept getting cut, and then we kept getting split up.
Right.
And then there was like a diversity kick in UCB, and they were trying to diversify the weekend teams, and I got asked to audition to be on JV, to do more of like a chemistry test.
Yeah.
And
which makes sense with an existing team that has, where something that you like about the team is the cohesiveness. It's like you want the chemistry to match or the style of play to be compatible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was your take on like having to audition to be put on?
It made sense to me as like, we just want to see if we work well, if we fit well together.
Yeah.
Because they were already so tight.
Yeah.
You know? So it made sense to me. Yeah, it wasn't, I could see how it could feel a little like, what are we doing here? Really, you know how I play or whatever. But I guess I just never had that ego about it.
Yeah.
I got to play with them. They let me play with them twice. And I was like, I had to be in the bathroom going like, just be yourself, just do what you do. And then whatever happens, happens. That's all you can do, you know? And I got out there and it was just fun. Yeah. It was just like you get on the train and you go. If you don't get on the train, that's kind of it. And then I got asked to be on, and
it's such a good fit.
Yeah.
It's such a good match. Because also, talk about a team of emotional players, you know, Mary Holland, Nick Mandernack, Paul Welsh. It's like these very committed emotions, very physical. I feel like the support in scenes, if people are going to do a weird thing where they're standing on the chairs or whatever, people are in. That's the world, you know. Yeah. Has your improv changed since you've been playing with JV?
I feel like my growth curve jumped exponentially because I was playing with them, because they're so much better than I am, and so seasoned together that it's like you have to step your game up if you're going to play with them. You have to, and so I attribute that curve to being on that team with them.
It's like, the tide is stronger, so you have to swim harder or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I should clarify, like me saying play with them sounds like there's a JV and then there's a U, and I don't mean it that way. I mean, like you're on the team. You are JV. Yeah, I just realized like you're not playing with them, but
that's interesting.
It is, yeah, because I do say I'm on Sentimental Lady. You're on JV.
But you are Sentimental Lady.
I am, but I was a late join for Sentimental Lady.
How was that?
Weird, wild, and I didn't know most of them. And I was a replacement for June Raphael. So like, and I loved her improv, and I was like, oh man, how am I gonna
fill
do
the
this?
Shoes. Yeah.
And also they were all such a tight group. It seemed like, you know, but I remember like going to our first practice in Johnny's garage, and I was meeting a lot of them for the first time. And then we just dove into practice, and it clicked. Like in that first practice, I was like, oh, we all play very similarly. And some of the references that were being made, I was like, oh, cool. I can tell that like we're a similar age and we're a similar just vibe. I don't know. There was something about the commitment and the acting of it that appealed to me. And like, yeah, I was, and you know what else appealed to me is I had come from a Herald team where our practices would take like 30 minutes to get started because everybody was just chit-chatting.
Yeah.
And then it would be finally like, okay, and we'd kind of like wander. It was like people didn't want to practice or something. And I was always like, we're wasting our time. Let's do it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, and also like that was back in the day, you know this too, where like we would all have to chip in money to pay our coaches. UCB didn't pay for them back then.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm paying $15 or whatever it was, $12 for this. Like, I'm going to get some notes.
Yeah.
Make me better.
Yeah. I want to do the improv part. We can chat and hang out sometime later after.
Right. And with Sentimental Lady, it was like practice was 8 to 10. Everybody arrived by like 7:55, and by 8:01 we were starting with a warm up that everyone knew, and then by 8:05 we were in Herald's. And like man. I was like, this is the team for me. And that work ethic kind of continued, like even after we graduated Herald night, we didn't stop practicing for several years. And we still wanted notes and whatever. And I remember when I was coaching Bangarang when they graduated, and we had this meeting and they were like, now that we've graduated, do we have to keep practicing? I was like, you don't have to, but don't you want to? You know?
I find rehearsal so beneficial.
Yeah.
Rehearsal for me really helps me make sure that I'm getting back to those basics, because that's the first thing I'll lose is that who, what, where. If I'm not rehearsing, I can tell immediately because I'm like, I don't know who we are. I don't know where we are because I dropped that. For whatever reason, that's the thing. The basic is what I drop for whatever reason. So being back in rehearsals and really being in the practice of improv is really beneficial for me.
Yeah. And should be for all of us, I think, as like, I don't know, as I'm aging and maybe there's a laziness or maybe it's a scheduling thing, but it's like, I can't imagine us practicing now, but I would certainly benefit from it. Like, I wish, part of me wishes that we did, but also then people start having kids and just things like slip away. Yeah.
Also, because this whole thing started because I needed friends. And so, and friendship community is really important to me. And if I don't have it, I will isolate, and I have no problems being by myself. And that is a problem if I do it too much. And so having the rehearsals, it just forces me to make sure that I'm participating in my life. And so, yeah, I love rehearsal.
Yeah. You've made a ton of friends.
Yes.
Yeah. And we started by talking about how like your non-improv people don't get it. Do you ever mix friend groups? Like, are you ever like, having a party and you invite both groups, or is it like...
It's pretty separate.
Yeah.
It's pretty separate. I got my sister does musical theater.
Oh, cool.
But she doesn't want to hear about improv. But when she comes to visit me, she does come to shows. She does let me ramble on about it. But I can tell when she's like, and we're done.
And scene.
Yes.
I did a sitcom, improvised sitcom show with you.
Yes.
Yes. And you were so good at the narrative thread, the plot thread of that. And that's where I am just in over my depth. Like I am not good at it, both in life, like writing narrative story and in improv. I'm not good at the plot stuff. And you were right on it. You're like, because in that show there's like a commercial break and we get to chat and be like, okay, like what are the plot points or whatever. And you were so on it. I want to know like where that comes from. Is that your screenwriting background, or do you have a lot of practice with narrative improv that tuned that up in you?
No.
You're just a natural talent at it.
I listen hard. I listen really, really hard. Because
and I don't. So there it is. That's the answer.
And we've solved it. How do you feel?
Terrible.
No. It's wild that you said that because I felt insane that whole show.
Really?
I was like, and part of it is that I think because I want to play well all the time, that when I feel like I'm not flying in a scene, then I'm like, oh no, I start to beat myself up. I have to give myself a little bit more grace. So I really appreciate you saying that. I hadn't really thought about that. But I listen. I've always been someone who just kind of keeps quiet and I listen to everything. So I absorb it all. And then when we have to regurgitate it when we're all talking behind the scenes, I can do that. But out on stage, I did feel like insane. So that makes me feel better about.
Oh man, I leaned on you so hard because during the first commercial break, you're like, okay, so the antagonist is this or the obstacle, and I was like, whoa, okay, I need help. Like, and then so during the second commercial break, I just was like, I'm going to shut my mouth and just listen to Genetra. Like she has this, you know? I
sell some grace, Genetra. Okay.
Yes. Freaking inject some grace, mainline it. The narrative ability that you have you written pilots or screenplays? And if not, you should. But what's your journey with that, or what's your like or dislike?
I'm working on a pilot right now. And I'm also working, as far as writing goes, I'm also working on my one-woman show.
Oh, great.
I am good at like, this happens, then this happens, then this. It's the middle stuff like the stuff that's more character buildy that I struggle with in my writing. So yeah, that's my journey with that. I love to write. The discipline of writing is tough for me. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
You are. Yeah.
Okay,
I just wanted you to like muse on that. Cause I didn't know if you were writing, and it just seems like something that your brain would be able to do really well because you have that left brain piece of the puzzle of the structure. It is
something that my whole life, even when I was a kid, I wrote like little stories and stuff like that. My mom has a whole collection of stuff. And it's interesting that you bring this up. Oh man, as I'm thinking about it, I feel like my dad is always like, why aren't you writing? What are you writing? Why aren't you writing? He's always been like that. And I feel like my parents understood my craft, but way before I've started figuring it out. And their dream for me was bigger than I thought it was, or that I could even imagine.
What was their dream? Was it something concrete or just amorphous and something big?
I think that it's that I'm a writer, that I write for TV, or that I write books, that I'm a writer an author in some capacity. And I was like, I'm missing pieces. And they're like, no, you're not actually. Just do it. Which I'm like, what do you mean just do it? How dare you?
You're just reading off of my Nike poster.
Yeah, we put this up for you on purpose. Just do it.
It's interesting as you're talking about that. It occurs to me that because you were saying like I'm missing a piece. I don't have all the pieces in place. It occurs to me that improv as a medium can be a stand-in for like writing school or for, or acting or directing school, because it is all those skills, maybe not so much directing, which demands more technical stuff. But you are in an incubator right now that is training a lot of these instincts that will come into play when you sit down at a keyboard. That's interesting. Maybe this is some of that thing that you were feeling you were missing.
Yeah.
And it's connecting those dots a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the pilot you're writing, or is it secret because you don't want to get the story out there? It's
like too good, guys, and I just know someone's going to steal it.
I mean, honestly, that happens. I'm like, I get. Yeah.
No, I started playing baseball.
When?
Last year was my first season.
What?
Yeah, I started. Jaquez put together a team. Yes, so great.
Oh,
so
wait,
talented.
Does Carl play on this team?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Carl showed up backstage one time and was like, oh, my knee. I'm like, what happened? He's like, I'm playing baseball. I was like, what?
But not only that. Okay, Carl basically had it inside the park home run. And then he was out in the field and he went to catch and stepped in like a little pothole thing.
Oh, no.
And was still able to catch. Carl is
what a superstar,
what a renaissance man.
Yeah, no kidding. Right. God. And yeah, good at everything he does to an annoying point.
Yeah. to an annoying point.
Yeah.
Hear that.
You hear us, Carl Tart? We're coming for you. Okay. So this is it an existing league in LA?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the LABF. And there's 9 teams in the league. And I'm on the Satchels. Jaquez Neal brought me in. And
the Satchels, I love it. Yeah.
Based off of Satchel Page.
Of course. Oh, I thought it was based on the bag that you used to carry.
And that's what
things.
I asked you.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, no, Genetra.
You're like, wait, was that sports here? Oh, I thought he was a bag.
Oh, he's not a bag?
Oh, he's a significant part of our history. Huh. I wanted him to be a bag.
There you go. Okay. Well, I'll put my bag away then.
Now you can run a lot faster. You don't have that book bag, that tote bag on.
A huge hindrance.
How are you guys doing in the league? I'm fascinated by this.
We had our first game this season on Saturday. We tied. It was a lot of fun. getting back into things. I'm not sore today, but I was definitely sore yesterday.
Gotcha. God, I want to come see a game then. Is it on weekends, on Sundays?
Saturdays and Sundays.
All right.
And I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I'll let you know when we're up.
Great. Yeah. So you were bringing up that to talk about your pilot.
Yeah. I have an internal philosophy that everybody's coming of age all the time.
Yes.
And I love coming of age stories. And I was like, why not like Sandlot for adults?
Oh.
And so that's kind of where I'm coming from on that.
I love it. Also, what a great elevator pitch and what a great log line. I mean,
I better get this recording so I can write that down.
Got to, yeah. Just play it over and over. Also, we've got to find you an elevator.
Yes, so that I can pitch it in along with the baseball.
What is your current, in real life, what is your current coming of age story? What is it a story of?
In my current life?
Yeah.
I think my coming of age story is right now in this moment is learning to love myself exactly where I'm at. And which is interesting because I'm in a little bit of a comedic crisis, a little tiny one, in that over the pandemic I've was horizontal for 2 years basically. And so I put on weight and my knees are not happy with me. And so much of my comedy, I could emotionally go anywhere because I knew my body would go too. Now I can emotionally go anywhere, but my body's like, hey, time out. I know you want to throw yourself. But if you do, you'll die. So let's not. And so it's like, oh no, how do I do this?
Yeah.
You know?
Perfect time to join an adult baseball team.
You know what?
That'll help.
This running thing's for the birds.
Although they do say that like it's counterintuitive with some body stuff to rest more because it like my Cairo was talking about it with back stuff. She was like, it's actually better to move more. That helps your joints and it helps your back strength and your core strength. So with some things, I don't want to tell
you don't want to join the
like,
league?
I mean, I would love to.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if I'd be any good. And also, like,
it's okay.
You don't want me on the satchels.
I absolutely do want you on the satchels. 100%. Yes, I do.
I would be your water girl. I mean, like, I'll run around and like bring towels and snacks and
we want you in the field.
Oh man, I'll try. Yeah, if you would have me. But this was not just a pitch for me to be on your baseball team. I just want
Turns out it was.
Turns out it was. Turns out you caught me. But yeah, that's so interesting. The physical aspect, the hindrance, the feeling a blockade with that. Yeah. And now learning to love yourself where you are right now. It's interesting to, that also speaks to kind of what a sport improv is in a way, that it is physical. It is something that as we age, we can't do as many things as we used to.
Yeah.
Certain players are willing to put themselves at, like Joe jumping off of, that's a tall wall.
Yes.
That's like a 8-10 foot wall.
Yeah. And then just to like basically face plant.
Yeah. Do you know who Nathan Barnett is?
I've heard the name. I don't have a face to put it to right now.
He does a lot of internet stuff. And he used to do stuff at like early UCB. And I heard a story. I didn't see this show, but I heard a tale in the lore one time about him doing a show. Someone else was on stage as a talk show host with a talk show desk and whatever, and was having guests. And in the middle of the show, Nathan just fell from the ceiling onto the desk and broke it. It was like a balsa wood desk or something.
Oh, wow.
Which means that he had just been hanging in the light grid for like 30 full minutes unseen by the audience and then dropped. And that kind of stuff, I'm like, whoa. And he's, I've worked with him on TV stuff. He's very physical. He's like a pratfall guy, a backflip guy. Like he can just do stuff and splat, you know?
Yeah.
Like stunt person level of comedy. But it's like,
there's a weird spectrum of like, okay, if that's 100, where do I fall? I'm maybe like a 20.
Yeah, if that's 100, yeah, I would say probably
Yeah,
20.
but you being someone who prides yourself on being a physical player, it's interesting to think that needle could move with certain limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to make sure I'm sharpening all the tools in my arsenal, because I have to rely on I feel like at least I have to rely on my wit. And sure, I'm witty, but not like, other like a Vic or a Ross.
Right. These like very quick, just razor sharp brains that are superhuman to the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, being an emotional player, can you emote without being as physical, or does that feel strange?
It feels a little strange. Yeah, I feel like once I start to go emotional, it just automatically starts to go into my body, and I want to move. And so to be more still feels like, am I doing something right now? Am I? And maybe I am. Maybe I'm doing like great work and I'm like too new at it to like just sit in it.
Right.
You're giving me so much to think about.
Uh-oh. But yeah, and maybe part of your learning to love yourself in the moment applies to being on stage and loving yourself. Even if it feels weird to stand still, loving that as the scene because that's the way you can do the scene right now without blowing your knees out or whatever.
That's a really great point. Yeah. Am I in therapy?
Welcome. My price chart is right up here. And
I hope you take insurance.
I do not.
Okay.
But I would love to be on your baseball team.
Nice trade.
Yeah. So what's next for you? You're writing this pilot. You're kicking ass as an improviser. Do you see do you have concrete goals and visions for your future, or are you just along for the ride, whatever it is?
I think now I'm starting to develop. Before, I think I was just along for the ride because this wasn't, I would have, you asked Genetra 10 years ago, not here. I'm somewhere else. And so I think I was along for the ride for a long time. And now I'm like, let's really start to try and set ourselves up here. And so I think that's where the one woman show came. I've always wanted to do one. And I always just kind of felt like, oh, is this my thing? That's like something I've got to get out of my lexicon is this my thing? Yes.
Right. Anything can be your thing.
Anything can be your thing.
Yeah.
And my father passed away.
I'm so sorry.
And in January. And I was like, I'm going to do this. Now is the time.
If it's not too sensitive to delve in here, but like what about his passing inspired that shift in you? Is it like the idea that life is short, you got to do what you want, or is it something about that's tied to him specifically?
My one woman show is about grief, but I carry a lot of fear inside of me. And going through that process of my dad passing away, how it happened, that was the scariest thing that I've ever gone through. And so now it's like, what is there to be afraid of?
Yeah.
So now I'm just kind of jumping full in on anything because there's nothing scary anymore.
Yeah. It really dissolved your fear. The fear doesn't live in you anymore.
Yeah, I don't have, as far as like what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do, I don't feel that fear inside of me of like, what do people think? What is, whatever that is, that's gone.
It made everything else so insignificant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what a gift. It's terrible that it had to happen in that package.
That way. Yeah. I mean, I'm like, man, I wish I had this while he was still here so that he could see some of these things that I'm about to do.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have done it. But aside from this grief show, that'd be wild to have a grief show about him and he's still alive. But
Dad, I really want you to come to
Please come. I want you to see what it's going to be like for me when you're gone.
Trust me, it's going to be so gnarly.
And I'm going to be so sad.
Yeah.
It's going to be tragic. Please come.
I describe in detail how you're going to go.
It's dramatic.
It's bad.
I think you'll love it.
I can totally relate. I lost my dad. It's been like 5 years now, but there's a lot of stuff that I do where I'm like, man, I wish he could be here. And then I remind myself that just that feeling of wishing he was here means that it keeps him alive in some way.
Yeah.
It still keeps that love or that relationship around. Can you, is the show in any sort of like, are you still in the writing process? Are you rehearsing it? Like, can you share about?
I'm still in the writing process. I think I finally settled on kind of like the format of it. It's going to be like half storytelling, half characters. And thematically, it's just going to be about like, tell them you love them. Tell them today. Don't wait. Tell your sister she's adopted today.
Even if she wasn't adopted.
Even if she wasn't.
Tell her she was.
It, but then follow up with, I love you.
Right. But make sure she thinks she was adopted.
Yeah.
Today.
And
tell her that the adoption happened today. Just to be clear, today.
Was happy adoption day.
Yeah. If anyone out there listening has any interest in doing a one-person show, what advice would you give them, or what's something that you've learned through the writing process of doing it?
To start off as big as you need to. Start off as big as you need to, because you will whittle it down. It will start to become clearer as you start to see what ideas you've presented yourself. So if you need to write down 100 ideas, write them all down and then see what's actually sticking to the line.
Sticking to the line. I love that. Are you looking for common themes, or how was it for you? Like, you write down all those ideas. Do you look for what they have in common, or just what you love the most, or what makes your heart sing?
Yeah, what makes my heart sing? What makes me happy? Because the topic is so tough, and so I was like, what is bringing me the most joy within this? And I was like, oh my gosh, all the times that we showed each other how we loved each other. That's the stuff that's really bringing me joy. So but I kept the characters. Okay. I got asked to do a JFL audition 2 years into being an improviser.
JFL is the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Montreal.
Oh yes. And I started doing improv. It all came really, really fast. I got an agent right away. And they were like, hey, why don't you try to do this JFL thing? And I was like, I don't know what that is. What is this? And they're like, well, just come up with characters. So then I ran around writing characters, trying to put them together. And I did this JFL audition that led to an SNL audition.
Oh my God. Congrats.
Thank
I didn't
you.
know. Oh, that's so cool.
I auditioned for SNL 3 titimes.
Holy shit. We've got to talk about this. Finish this story and then I want to talk about that.
Okay. Yeah. I auditioned for SNL 3 times. And then, I was like, okay, I think I'm done with that part of it. But I loved those characters. So now I'm like figuring out ways to write. So I have some of the stories I'm going to tell, but how would these characters voice their stuff within these storylines?
Yeah. Yeah. How can I mash up the two of these things?
Right.
And I didn't ask this before. This one woman show about grief, it's also a comedy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, how do you find comedy in the grief, or how do you apply it? How do you marry those two things?
Well, I mean, tragedy plus timing is comedy.
Yeah.
And it is wild how tragic events bring out the best and the worst in people. And it's just at my father's funeral, the woman who was like the head of the mortuary, her and her sons come up and she sings to my mom. She sings, That's What Friends Are For. We've known this lady for 2 weeks. She's like, you're now my best friend. She sings That's What Friends Are For. And her 3 sons are behind her, and they do this like Temptations dance in front of my father's casket. And we're like, what is... And
Who ordered the flash mob?
It was like, thank you. And it was like a whole commercial, basically. And I was like, and they were like, and that's the end. Go ahead, services or whatever. And I was like,
oh my God.
People are wild.
Yeah.
And so you can't, life is too funny.
Yes.
It's too funny. And if you take it too seriously, you're going to break your own heart. So you gotta let it out and laugh at the really ridiculous stuff. So why not, in sharing my grief, share all the fun and the funny things that happened, the things that made him such a huge part of my life, made the whole so big. Why not share that?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I mean, you're 6 months into the grief, or 5 months, 4.5 months, so it's still very fresh, but you're able to access all of that stuff with joy and with gratitude and a sense of humor. Tragedy plus time. But for you, you're like, tragedy plus 3 months, and I'm going to get in there and like examine this. It's really admirable.
If I don't, I'll go insane.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to put it somewhere, right?
I have to I have to let it out. And this is a constructive way, I think, of doing it, outside of like, scratching at a tree or something. I think this is a better way of processing.
Agreed. SNL. So you auditioned for, was it 3 separate years, or how close together were the 3 auditions?
3 separate years. First year just did the first audition. Second year got all the way right before they take you out to New York.
Wow.
And the third year, same, all the way right before they take you out to New York.
Was it, how did you approach it? What were your emotions?
I didn't even know that this was like in the realm of possibilities for me.
Yeah.
So I just, once again, in the mirror, just do what you do, and that's all you can do. And
you have these mirror moments literally in a mirror?
Yeah, like right before. I'm standing right before my Herald audition, before I got on Mondegreen, I ran to the bathroom and I was like, be yourself, do what you do. That's all you can do.
And for the audience at home, she is looking at herself in the mirror and pointing at herself with her index finger. Yes. Man, I love this. Has this been something you've used as a technique throughout your life?
No, it started with improv because I auditioned for Herald Night 4 times. And my third, maybe it was 5 times. My third audition was the audition right before the audition when I made it was so insane and so like out of character that I was like, when I walked out of there, and that was the first year I didn't get a call back. I got a call back every time except for that time. And I knew exactly why. And I was like, you just got to be yourself. You cannot, I don't know what you were doing out there, but not that. Whatever
that was, opposite. Sometimes the nerves of those auditions also, it just like shoots your pinball in a real weird direction. So that's when, so the Mondegreen audition, or before that, was when the mirror talk started.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
And now it's something you go to.
Yeah. Now it's like my thing. Actually, you know what? The starting of that was actually my JFL audition, because I did JFL before I got on Herald Night. But I had only done it that one time. But for whatever reason, when Mondegreen came around, I was like, you've got to calm down.
You have to listen to me this time. I used to leave sticky notes for myself, little like pep talks or whatever.
Nice.
And I have used before big auditions, I've used the Wonder Woman pose. Do you know about this?
Oh,
the hands on the hips. Like, I still sometimes, if I'm nervous for something, I will go in a bathroom stall and spend 2 minutes in the hands on hips position. It works. Like And they say it like actually releases whatever hormone or adrenaline you need to calm you and empower you or whatever.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm gonna have to figure that one out.
Yeah. It might be a placebo, but even if it is,
But
placebos
still,
work too.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's do some rapid fire prov questions.
So ready for this.
All right. Do you have a favorite type of character to play?
Desperate.
Desperate, emotionally desperate, or
Emotionally desperate. Just like, but I have to get in there. You don't understand. If I don't, my whole world will crumble.
do you have a favorite type of initiation, like, or a go-to style of initiation?
I like to do space work first before I initiate. Initiations are hard. I'm not a great initiator. I don't think.
I beg to differ, but if you're feeling that, then your experience is
it's
true
not
for
my
you.
strength. It's not my
gotcha. What kind of object work do you like to do?
My favorite object work is to kick down doors.
Also, on the heels of saying that you like to initiate with object work first, I'm picturing like someone like washing a dish or whatever, and then gently initiating. But then to mash that up with kicking down a door, like I initiate my scenes by silently kicking down a door.
Always, and I always do sound effects. I'm always like,
yeah, yeah. You are a sound effects player. I love that. That is something that's like part of your comedic voice, I think. Yeah. Do you have a scene in recent memory that stands out as a banger or something that makes you laugh
every time? As far as like space work, or just the scene in general?
Just like a scene that has happened in a show recently where you're like, oh man, my teammates are so funny, or oh man, I loved what I did.
It's not a recent scene. This scene is with Mondegreen. Colin McGurk played Indiana Jones, and I was one of his students. And it was basically like, but you're just a white guy invading stuff that you're not supposed to be where you say you are. And he kept having to defend why he was there. And I was like, okay, but. And he was fighting so hard. It's like one of my favorite scenes that I've ever done.
Man, I wish you could do that with Harrison Ford. Yes. That would be such a good sketch.
Just to be like,
right.
But I don't think you were supposed to. Your plane crashed? That's crazy. And then you just said, I'm going to go save some people? Sure.
Come on. And did you really need to take the statue that belonged to them?
It didn't belong to you. There's a reason why it burned a hole. Right?
Right. The slow hand raise too with the skeptical face. Yeah, I wish people at home could see it. It's like she's throwing up her hand like, we are out of time. No. Sadly, I know.
It went so fast.
You know what I mean? Yeah, but you have to come back.
I would love to.
And we have to garden, and I'm on your baseball team now.
Absolutely. Yes, and I have that compost tea for you. I'm still making it.
God, yeah, I actually really need that. And do you have regular compost, like soil compost?
I believe so, yeah.
Let's talk. We can talk about this as soon as the microphones are on. Thank you so much for being here and sharing so much of yourself vulnerably. Do you have anything that you would like to plug?
I'm on JV second Fridays at 8:30 at UCB, and I'm also on Benetton fourth Friday.
Both, and that's also at UCB.
That's also at UCB 8:30. Yeah.
Excellent. And we'll keep our eyes peeled for your one-woman show.
Yay.
Yeah.
Please, please, please.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
If you have a question about improv that you would like me to ask a future guest, email it to yesalsopod@gmail.com and I will get it on the show. If you're a fan of the show, follow us on Instagram at yesalsopod. And please help us out by liking, rating, reviewing, clicking, sending, talking, and blasting us to your improv communities. That will help us out a lot. If you're a theater who would like to host us for a live recording and improv show, let us know at yesalsopod@gmail.com. A huge shout out to Ryan Rosenberg, who produced this thing with his generous help and his unlimited knowledge about all things podcast. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. No, we won't, Susie. That's not how podcasts work. They will see. They won't even see us. They will listen to us. So it's actually the opposite of both things you said. Thanks for listening, and you will listen to us next week. Maybe. We don't know.